I'm gonna tell you guys right now, this video is going to be pretty difficult to make because I have so many mixed emotions about this game, Mario Strikers Battle League. When it was first announced, I was super excited. You could go back and check my track record. That was probably one of the most exciting announcements during that Nintendo Direct for me personally. I'm a huge Mario Strikers fan. I loved it on the GameCube. I loved it on the Wii. I know some people didn't really love it on the Wii, but I was really hopeful for this game, but doubt started to creep into my mind. I made some videos talking about it because it just looked like it was a little bit lacking. It looked like it was following in those other Mario sports games footsteps that we've gotten this far on the Nintendo Switch, because they kind of release an unfinished product and then add stuff as we go along. But Mario Strikers, I don't know, it just had to feel a little bit different. It had to be a little bit different, right? So that's where we come to with this game. Obviously the game is already released. I've been playing the game both offline and online, and I have a lot of mixed emotions about this game. So we're going to talk about the good, we're going to talk about the bad, and I'm going to question some things with the decision of this game, and we'll come to a conclusion on whether or not this game is right for you. We're going to talk about the truth about Mario Strikers Battle League, because I feel like a lot of people won't, because they're afraid of pissing off Nintendo fans. And well, I mean, you should know by now, I don't really care about that. I'm all about the game itself and what I feel about it. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this game here, shall we? So let's start things off with the good side of things. And I think there are a lot of positives to this game. You know, maybe not as many as we would have wanted, but I do think there are some positives in it. Of course, Mario Strikers Battle League is a Mario soccer game where you're kicking the ball. We're not saying football on this channel. No, sir. Good old US of A here. I'll be an ignorant American where we call the game soccer. It's a soccer game. It's obviously very over the top in terms of the actual gameplay. Yes, there are some actual soccer elements to the game, but it definitely feels like a very pick up and play title. That's kind of the problem I had with Mario Golf, is that I felt like Mario Golf tried to be like an actual golf game with very little sort of fun and hijinks and over the top stuff in the game. Whereas Mario Strikers, they nailed it perfectly. There's items that you can use within the game. You could basically, you know, take out your opponents. You could do charge attacks to take them out with basic tackles. You can actually use your teammates as tackle shields as well. If a teammate is in front of you and somebody is in front of them, you can push your teammate into that character. So I like a lot of things about that. There's been lots of, you know, little tweaks to the gameplay that I feel are very important. Of course, you also have the whole shooting mechanic of the game, which really opens things up. You can charge up your shot, of course, which gives you a little bit of a better chance of it going in. You can adjust where the shot goes. If you want the shot to go high, low, left, or right, you can do that while you're charging the shot itself. The passing feels very crisp. You know, there's like perfect passing where you can do passes and do a proper input at a proper time and do a perfect pass where the opponent can't, you know, stop your ball from coming in. I think that that's really good. You know, I think the core mechanics of the game feel very well done. There's also the Hyper Strike in the game as well, which is like, you know, one of the big selling points. It's one of the things that they showed in all the promotion, where essentially what happens is an item comes onto the map, and by picking up that item, you get the opportunity to do a Hyper Strike within 20 seconds of that item coming onto the field. How you do a Hyper Strike is you basically have to charge up your shot without getting hit for a little bit longer than you would a normal shot, and then a little meter comes up. By activating the meter, it's sort of like a mini game. By activating the meter in the proper zones, you can get a perfect shot that can't be blocked, or you can get a shot that, you know, maybe there's a chance of it getting blocked. It sort of does a mini game with the goalie, where if you're the goalie, the opposition who's getting the hyper shot done on them, you have to press A in order to, you know, stop the shot from going in. It's a fun little mechanic. You know, you could time it very well as well. The animations for it are very fun, and I think that's a really good feature of this game, because the gameplay itself, it definitely feels like a Mario sports game. It's not trying to be a sports game with Mario characters in it, and I feel like that's sort of important. You have to add things into these games to make them sort of a bit more attractive than just, you know, a skinned golf game. That was really one of my biggest problems with Mario Golf on the Switch. Like I said, it definitely just felt like a traditional golf game with some Mario elements sort of sprinkled in, whereas this feels very over the top. This feels very fun and chaotic. This feels like a proper Mario sports game should feel. Of course, alongside of that, you have the graphics of the game. I think the game itself looks very pretty. You know, all of the effects are very well done. You can push people into the side and they get electrocuted. There's tons of stuff happening when you're playing the game. There's very little slowdown. I did encounter a little slowdown sometimes online, but you know, that's just servers. You know, most of my games online were actually very smooth and very seamless. And the graphics, like I said, they look great. The effects look great. The hyper shot, you know, the animations that they have with it look great. Everything looks really well done with this game. I'm actually very impressed with the graphics and the presentation of this game. The audio is well done as well. You have your little, you know, Mario sounds, wahoo, you know, crap like that. Pretty much what you would expect from it. So if the gameplay is solid and the graphics and presentation are well done, what are the drawbacks of this game? And that's where we get into the difficult portion of this video, because my fears are confirmed with this game. My fears are confirmed with this game being very light on content on day one, but it extends beyond that. It extends way further beyond that when it comes to this game. Yes, when you play this game, it's light on content. You have a limited amount of characters to choose from, and that really takes away a lot of the fun right off of the bat, because you're always playing 4-on-4, so you always are in control of 4 different characters. So you're going to become very acclimated with these characters very, very quickly. Now, there is a whole gear system in the game where you could basically add gear to the characters by unlocking points, by doing things like winning games and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. You can basically adjust the stats, but really the characters themselves just feel like other characters. You know, if you have a character that's based on like Toad, who's a speed-based character, or a strength-based character, by adding certain gear to him. And on paper, that sounds cool, but what ends up happening is the speed attribute will go down because you're buffing the strength attribute. So it's really like you're playing as different characters, just with a different skin. You get what I'm saying? Like, Toad is supposed to be a fast character. You can't take Toad and make him a fast and strong character. It has to be sort of one or the other. So while the gear is cool, and you know, I did tinker around with it for my Waluigi, in theory, you know, it should work, but in practicality, it just kind of, you know, it feels like a carrot dangling at the end of the stick that you're trying to get all this gear for, but are you really accomplishing anything with it? Because you could just simply choose another character that's more tailor suited to your gameplay style. But really, where the problems start to creep in is just the absolute lack of content with this game. You know, there's 5 different levels that you play on, and basically a person will pick their level they want to play on, say the Spooky Mansion, and then the other person will pick the lava level, and so it'll be a half and half sort of thing. But even with the 5 different levels, nothing feels different. Nothing feels any sort of, you know, unique to it. It's just a couple different things on the aesthetic side of things, the graphical side of things, that sort of change with it, but it doesn't actually affect the gameplay. And most of the time you don't even notice it because you're just looking at a green field. Like, you couldn't change a color. You couldn't make like one of the colors, like the lava level, red, and then, you know, the spooky level kind of purple or something like that. You couldn't have done something fun on the field to sort of, you know, break up the monotony. And people are going to say that's sort of a nitpick thing, and maybe it is, but I do feel like the lack of content in the game and the whole perceived notion of getting this gear and, you know, changing up your characters and making them better, I don't feel like it's enough to keep you wanting to come back for more personally, because of the fact that there's just not a lot of game modes here. There's no sort of story mode, and, you know, that's okay. I wouldn't want a shoehorned in story mode, but in the same breath, it's kind of like, well, you know, this is Mario. Like, if there's any sort of place you could do a story mode for a soccer game, I think this would be it. But no, you just have things like quick match. You have cups that you can do offline where you get more gear points and you go against different opponents who are strengthened in other areas and stuff like that. And then, of course, you have the whole leagues thing. And I can't really talk too much about the league thing right now because it hasn't even started yet. But the online portion was obviously going to be very important in this game. I did go ahead and create a league. I made, you know, a little arena. You can tinker with the arena and have like a different colored goal by unlocking points by playing in your, you know, league mode against other people. But now we come to the big problem with the game. And this is an absolute bizarre decision. I don't understand this whatsoever. Mario Strikers Battle League is a 4-on-4 soccer game. The only way you can play with 8 people is in local mode. When we get into the online stuff, it becomes so confusing and so contrived that I just can't believe they did this. Now, if you're playing in quick mode and you do an online thing, you basically do 2v2. So 2 people can play against 2 other people that can play. There's no real lobby system in that or anything. It's very confusing. You just kind of got to go, you know, balls to the wind and hope for the best with it. But you can do 2v2. So basically you're going to have 2 human characters and 2 AI characters no matter what you're doing, plus the goalie. So a total of 3 AI characters and 2 human characters. In the league, you can do the same thing. You could team up with one person in your league and then play online against other people from other leagues. You can't do 4-on-4 no matter what mode you do. You can't do 4-on-4 online. And it's like, wasn't the whole point of this game the online stuff? Wasn't that the whole driving point of this game? The whole league system that you promoted? Why did you never say in your marketing you can't do 4-on-4? And it's like other Nintendo games can do it. You could do 4-on-4 stuff in Switch Sports. You could do 4-on-4 in Splatoon on the Wii U. This is a major problem. And it's not just a major problem because you're limiting the amount of players that can play the game with you, but the AI is not good in this game. Your goalie is either Jesus Christ himself or he's Jesus Christ pinned on the cross and can't stop a goal. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Spawnwave and I were doing some matches last night and we were playing an online match. We got into overtime. It was very grueling. This was like a 6-7 minute match. The other team scored because our goalie literally just fell over. There was no rhyme or reason to it. He literally just fell over. There are times when the opponent is charging up a hyper shot, which, like I said, is worth 2 goals, and your AI counterpart will just be standing literally in front of them, not helping, not trying to stop the shot. And it's like, you know, damn, this could really be rectified if we could do 4-on-4. Like, that's a major problem and a major oversight. You can't play with your friends more than just one friend online. And it's like, why? I don't understand the reasoning behind it, especially in the league mode, which is supposed to be one of the driving factors of the game. And I think my biggest problem, though, is bringing it all back full circle. You play this game for an hour or 2, you've seen everything. You have seen everything that there is to do. You've seen all the characters. You've seen all the levels. Yes, you could change up the levels. Yes, you can add more gear to the characters, but it's just cosmetic stuff that messes around with the stats a little bit. Unless you're just completely, you know, in love with the gear and you want to unlock all the gear and stuff and do all the cups, I don't really see why you would, because you're just making the characters play like another character that's already readily available. With the limited amount of characters, the limited amount of, you know, arenas that you play in that really don't have a major impact on anything from a visual standpoint, it becomes very boring very quickly. I still think the game is fun. Like, I still have fun playing the game, but it's like, you know, I would have a lot more fun if I could play with 4 people on one team. I don't understand why I can't play with 4 people on one team. Why are there only a handful of characters? Why are there only a handful of levels? And we all know why. We all know why, because they're going to do a drip feed of content with this game. Held back content on day 1 so that you can, you know, want to play the game more. You can want to play the things like the leagues. The leagues don't even start for 8 more days. The game has been out already, and it starts at like 3 in the morning. So I'm East Coast time. So obviously they're still pandering to the Japanese market as if that's their most important marketplace. And it's like, that's such a strange decision to me, because at the end of the day, Mario Strikers Battle League is a fun game that looks really good. But the problem is, it's a games as a service game. No matter what they want to say, it's a games as a service game. And the drip feed of content that's going to come over is supposed to be the carrot dangling on the end of the stick. But for $60, it's like, I expected a little bit more. You could say, well, look at the previous Mario Strikers games. They didn't have a ton of content like that. And to that I say, that was 15 years ago. 15 years ago. Are we still playing video games that play like they did 15 years ago? We've advanced. And Nintendo just doesn't, they seem to want to regress when it comes to their sports games. So, should you pick up this game? Yeah, it's a tough question. It's a tough question. I think if you have people to play with locally, because that's what the game seems to sort of be built around a bit more so than the online stuff, even though that's all they talked about in the marketing, I think it would be fun. But once again, you're going to see everything there is to see, you know, very quickly with this game. If you're just buying it for the online stuff, I would wait for a price drop or something like that, because there's definitely not enough meat on the bones right now. And my suspicions were true. You know, Nintendo is just releasing these sports titles with very little content on day one in hopes that, hey, you know, as content comes to the game, people will still be excited for it. I would rather have a quality experience chock full of content on day one that I keep wanting to come back to than a drip feed of content for a game that, honestly, if it's not holding my attention on the first day or the first week of it, why would I come back to it in the first place? And I know there's a lot of gamers that disagree with that sentiment, but I mean, this is my opinion. If you disagree with it, make a video, share your thoughts on Mario Strikers Battle League. But man, I'm definitely disappointed. I'm definitely disappointed with this game. Between the wonky AI, the lack of ability to play with your friends online, the lack of just overall quality put into the online aspect of the game, even though that was the main focal point of all of the marketing of the game, were these leagues and stuff like that, definitely leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Still a pretty game, still a game you can play for, you know, 20 minutes or something like that. But beyond that, I don't know. I just, there's not enough meat. There's not enough meat. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this game. Have you picked it up? Have you been enjoying it? A lot of people seem to say, oh, I picked up the game and I've been playing it all day. But have you played it today? Have you wanted to come back to it? And if so, what's that driving factor? Because there's not really a huge driving factor right now with the game. Obviously, that'll change a bit over time, but shouldn't that stuff be available when the game releases? Or are we just beta testers? Are we just the you know, the gerbils on the wheel that are being, you know, injected with like Viagra and stuff to see what the reaction is to us? Like, I feel like we should expect more. I feel like we should expect more. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. I don't hate the game. Jesus Christ, I know there's going to be people that say I do, but I don't hate the game. I just wish it was more complete. And I think that's the whole reasoning behind this video. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.